Hello, it's me.
Oh, it's not.
I'm Northeast SARE Communication Specialist Vander Gack, and Candice Huber, our Farmer Grant Administrator, is here. Welcome to our Q&A session, and I'm so excited to hear what you want to learn.
Hi, everyone. As Vander said, I'm Candice Huber, and I manage the Farmer Grant program. And I am here to answer any specific questions you have regarding applications for our Farmer Grant program. I see two people here, Teresa and Mia. Would either of you like to ask a question?
Hi, I'm Teresa, and how do I start the process and start submitting? I find where to submit reports and things like that. I just don't know where to start.
Yep. So if you have, so are you talking about submitting electronically or writing from starting to write your proposal?
Either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you go to our website, northeastsare.org, maybe Vander, you could put the get a grant in the chat. And if you go there, you'll find our call for proposals. And
Okay.
the call for proposals has all the information about what you'll need to in order to submit a proposal. And we tell you about the basics of the program, what it's all about, what we do, and also then step-by-step instructions for how to submit the proposal. And we provide the website to our grant management system, which is where you would go online to submit your proposal. In there, on page, I need to look up what page it is, but there is a link to a Word document, kind of like a worksheet, where you can go ahead and begin to write your proposal, write out all the answers to the questions, and that way when you are ready, you can go to the online system and put your answers right into the system. So you can work on it. Let's see, where is that? So it's at www.northeastsare.org/farmer-grant-prep. We'll put that in the chat also.
Okay, that'd be great.
And that's a Word, yep, that's a Word document, and it's just the questions, and you can put your answers in there. There are word limits and stuff, so it gives you an opportunity to craft your answers offline. But the call for proposals is where you want to start. And if you already have your idea about what you want to propose, what your project would be, then you can get right into the call for proposals and start answering the questions. You also do need a technical advisor. So that's also a good place to start, with locating a technical advisor who is somebody who's an expert in your topic that can help you with anything from designing your project to submitting your proposal, and then facing if you have any challenges along the way during your project, or advising you during your project, maybe helping with outreach, that sort of thing. They aren't required to do all of that, but those are the types of things a technical advisor can help you with. And you are required to have one, so you do need to get somebody on board as soon as possible, because sometimes it takes a little bit to find the right person to work with.
Yeah, do they have to have prerequisites other than some experience in what I want to do, or?
Yeah, no, they just should be, nope, they should just be an expert in in the topic area. So somebody who could help you, with do all the things that I said, advise you on the project if as needed. Yeah, we don't require any specific qualifications, except for they do need to provide a letter of support that states that they're committed to the project and that they're going to help you, and their role, a little bit about their experience too, and then their role, in the project, whatever that will be, what they're committing to do to help you. I will say, when reviewers are reviewing the proposals, it's a competitive program.
Mhm.
So they'll be looking to see that this technical advisor has the expertise that will be helpful to you, and that they also are committed to the project. So that will need to be apparent through their letter and through your description in the proposal of them.
Okay.
And Mia, you asked who are the experts. You can, Vander just posted a link to more information about technical advisors and what their roles would be. And that's a great thing actually to share with your technical advisor so that they're aware of what we're looking for here. But technical advisors can be anyone from extension agents to researchers, educators. It can be ag consultants. It can be another farmer. Anybody who has that expertise. It can't be somebody who's very close to you, like a partner, spouse, that type of thing, because we need for you to branch out. But you can pay your technical advisor on the grant. But that would be for work that they're doing specifically on the project. It couldn't be for, any helping with the proposal, that sort of thing. Does that answer your questions or any other questions?
No, I was out of the database trying to search it. I found it a little daunting.
Yep. So our database is at projects.sare.org.
Mhm.
Just in case you want to know what we're talking about. And it has all of the projects that we've funded ever, I think are in there. We go way back, but what you can do is you can take your like a keyword for your topic, like say you want to do something with varroa mites in bees. You can take a keyword from there like varroa and put it into the search and pull up projects that have looked at that. And that way, that will give you some idea of previous work, which is actually part of the proposal. But it also, you can look at these projects and you can see what people are doing, how they are designing their projects, and then they do outreach. And so you can see all the components depending on where they are. The best thing to do is look at a project that's completed, and it will say final report as opposed to annual report or progress report. I forget which it now says, but you want to look at a final report because that'll have all the fields completed, and it'll give you a sense of what the end result will look like when you're done with your project. And also, it should describe all that person did. And so you can see, what people typically do. It's very varied. It could be an education project. It could be a quantitative research project. It could be a qualitative research project where you're working with, interviews and focus groups or surveys. So it's there's a lot of different types of projects and all kinds of topics. And yeah, you'll want to look up Northeast Farmer Grants and then a keyword for that you're interested in.
Okay. All right. Now, is funding, if something's been done that's similar, is it better not to do that? Or, I mean, I don't know, like how different.
Yeah, not
the project
necessarily.
needs to
Yep. If it's something maybe that's been done before. Where are you located, Teresa?
I'm in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire. Okay. So say it's been something that's been done before, maybe in West Virginia, but you've
Mhm.
it's not really a adopted practice in New Hampshire. You could do the same thing they did in West Virginia, but you're trying it in a different area. So
Oh,
you
okay.
can test existing practices on new audiences or new situations to see if they'll work in your area. And that's a perfectly acceptable project. The one thing I do want to stress is that since this is a competitive program, reviewers are looking to see that the project will have an impact on farmers in the Northeast. So, so in that sense, you really want to make a case in your proposal how this can be some useful information for farmers in your area. So if you are testing a practice that's, you know, established somewhere else, you may say, you'll want to like address that. You'll say, this has been done in West Virginia for years, but it's never been tried in New Hampshire. And by doing this, it could help farmers increase their production in New Hampshire, or bring a new market to New Hampshire, or with climate change, it's something we need to start looking, you know, something like that. So reviewers, that's the kind of thing reviewers will be looking for.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and Vander just put in a link to the database, and then a search of farmer grant projects specifically also.
Okay, yeah, so I can basically limit it to like the Northeast to see. I don't have to
Yes.
necessarily do the whole country. Okay.
Correct. There's a field for regions, and we've got North and SARE is a national program, and we've got 4 regions: the West, the South, the North Central, and then the Northeast, which is Maine all the way down to DC, Maryland, West Virginia. So you'll want to you'll want to choose Northeast, yeah, and that'll limit it to our region.
Okay.
And if you're not finding anything in our region, but you want to still see if there's anything done anywhere else in the country, definitely, you know, you can use that to find elsewhere also.
Okay. I am trying to find that farmer grant prep, that the for the Word document, and I'm not, it's sending me everywhere but there, it seems.
Let me just test it.
If you click on that link, it just directly downloads it as a Word document.
Okay, well, I'm on Zoom on my phone, so which I tried to download it and it didn't do it. So I'm typing it onto my computer, and it grant prep, and it's not.
You may have, if you might want to check your URL bar, there may be blocks downloads.
Yeah, no,
or...
my computer just did it. It just didn't. Usually it has a little thing that shows, hey, it's downloaded. It didn't, but it did do it. So I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. We don't put it right out there on a page and like right out there really easily, because we don't want people to just go right to that form and not use the call for proposals, because the call for proposals really has a lot more in it and is very important to read, you know, instead of just using that Word doc.
Right.
So that's why we make it
all the guidelines. Yeah. Okay.
And it shows you the review criteria, so you'll know what reviewers are looking for each of the questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that's all my questions at the moment.
Candice, I have a question kind of based on Teresa's search of the projects database. What's a good number of projects for someone who's looking at for the previous project citation section of the grant? How many projects is a good number for people to be looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vander. So the number of projects, now you can use the project database to get previous work to cite for the section that's called previous work. But you can also check other places besides the database. Like you could ask you could just Google, you know, and try to find stuff. You could maybe you have a network of like an association or something, like a veg and berry association or an apiary group or something where people might have previous experience that you want to tap into. Your technical advisor might know of studies that have been done that they could point you to. So you don't want to just focus on the SARE projects. It's just another source of projects to find previous work on. Again, for the SARE projects, it allows you to see, you know, what kind of things people are doing with these SARE funds and how our projects are typically laid out. But I would say maybe like 5 or so, but you know, some things maybe it's never been done before. And so maybe you won't really find any previous work. You might have to you might be looking for something that's a little tangential. So if you're exploring farmers markets, well, that's a bad one because there's a lot of studies on that. But say you're looking at a production technique and that hasn't been done anywhere, but you could, if it's a production technique for tomatoes, you could find maybe some general information about tomatoes that would inform your production research. And that's the kind of thing you could cite in your previous work section. So again, I wouldn't get hung up on the number of projects to have, but reviewers would like to see that you've done due diligence and that you've really looked to see that, you know, what else has been done in the area. And but they also don't want they don't want like 20, because they will look at some of these. If there's 20, they won't look at any of them. So they want just a couple of specific ones or a few specific ones that really inform your work, explain what you're building on maybe, or like if it's something from another area. I go back to that example of something being done in West Virginia that you want to try in New Hampshire. You'll want to pull up some information, some studies or some reports or some articles about what's been done in West Virginia, and how you're going to, and then go on to say, you know, our project is going to build on this aspect of that. So does that help?
Yeah, that helps me. Thank you.
Great.
I have another question.
Sure.
I'm looking at what the funds can be used for, and it says that it can pay farmers for their time. Can it pay employees?
Okay. Absolutely. Anybody who's going to work on the project, it needs to be work specifically done on the project. It can't be like your normal farm operation work.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. And we do want to pay farmers in particular, because usually farmers are just, they work, and we want to make sure they get compensated for that.
Yeah. So, and then it also says for project related materials, but then below it says what funds can't be used for. So if there's like some small, I don't know, and not big equipment, but things that needed, like whether it's irrigation stuff or something like that, that can be used. The funds can be used to purchase.
So if irrigation is a great example. So if you need irrigation for your project, but you don't need it for your farm otherwise, then we would pay for it. If you, and if it's a big piece of, I'm not sure, I'd have to look up what the dollar amount is now, but we would, if it's a piece of equipment that you could use after the project, that you're getting because you need it for the project, but it still would be useful to you or for you to sell to another farmer after the project, we would pay a prorated rate. So if, for instance, if you needed to buy, a tractor implement and you needed it for the project, but not for anything else in your operation. And if the project works, if you're successful, if it's something for like maybe working with tomatoes and it works and you're gonna, then it will still be useful after the project. But if it's not going to be useful after the project, it's not going to have any use after the project for you or for anybody, then it will pay for it. But if it does have use beyond the life of the project, we'll pay a prorated rate. So typically farm equipment is 5 years. So if you have a 2-year project, we pay for 20% of it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
And for some equipment, you can't make capital purchases, but you can rent equipment and you can rent space and you can rent, and that includes renting it from your own operation. So if you have a greenhouse that you are going to be moving out of regular production in order to use it for a SARE project research, you can rent it from your organization at the rate that it would have been generating in order to make for the capacity to do our work. That's a big part of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, and Mia, I see if you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand or jump right in. But otherwise, we'll just keep chatting. Any other questions?
And I don't have any at the moment. I'm just looking through here and those popped up.
Yeah, we're here for the hour, so feel free to take your time and look through that.
Okay.
This is a big part of our in-person workshops too, is like get everybody set and then have a moment where you can look through all of the information we just piled on you and then tell us what catches your eye and what you might need a little more clarification on.
Mm-hmm. Is there any estimate on how long it takes to write the proposals?
We do a survey at the for applicants. So when you submit your proposal, you'll get a link to a survey. And I'd say we get about a 10% response rate, but it could be anywhere from 20 to 40 hours. And maybe even less. Some people can put 10 hours into it and knock it off. But if you add in, talking with your technical advisor and submitting it online and really crafting all your responses, I would say anywhere from, it's really varied. And 10 to 40 hours, it's a lot. 40 hours is a lot. I think that's a pretty excessive estimate, but I would say 10 to 20 is pretty reasonable. So
Okay.
which seems like a lot, but it's amazing how it sucks you in, and next thing you know, you've been sitting at your computer for
I know.
hours.
All right, I was just going through the links here about the.
And I've timed myself on a copy paste submission. Once you've got the worksheet fully filled out and ready to go and ready to upload it into the system, it really only takes about 15 or 20 minutes to copy and paste those things over. So give yourself like we like to have people submit stuff a day or two in advance of the actual deadline in case you run into any issues. But if you have that worksheet ready to go, you really are. That's the bulk of the work is set there. That GMS thing is just procedural.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, okay. So a technical advisor can be an experienced farmer. Okay.
Yes.
Mm.
So, Candice, on the subject of technical advisors, at this point, so we've got little over a month here, really about a month when you'd want to be submitting your application. Is it, better to just to be having your advisor come out, maybe have the worksheet ready and work through the worksheet with them? How do you advise people kind of start those conversations with those advisors so they can make sure that they're using their time as best as they can?
Yeah, good question. By worksheet, you mean the grant prep sheet? Yeah. Well, I would say the first, like, when you contact them, send them the links for the technical advisor, but more importantly, for the call for proposals, and have them review the call for proposals so they know. And they may be familiar already with grant writing, and it may all, be pretty easy for them to just read through, and then sit down with them. And let's see, the best way to use your time right now, I would say a phone call with the technical advisor, telling them what your project is, telling them here's the call for proposals. Here's the guide for technical advisors, which shows the type of support you're looking for, and then asking them if that's something they would like to commit to, and would be like to help you with. And then I would say, more phone conversations. If they want to come to your farm, great. But I think, you can do a lot of it over the phone and email. They'll just want to hear about, what your idea is and what you might think of your research. What question are you asking? What are you proposing as a solution to the issue that you're thinking of, and how you might figure that out. So what kinds of things you would do, what would you try, what trials would you do, what data would you measure, that sort of thing. And if you can provide that to them, they could say, oh, well, I think maybe you should do, 6 samples instead of 2. And, I think they can give you tips. And so I think the first thing to do is reach out to them with the call for proposals and what your project idea is, and ask them if it's something they would be interested in to help you with.
Okay.
And get them to commit to that before you spend a lot of time with them, because if they're not interested, you're going to need to move on to somebody else quickly.
An experienced farmer in the case for a technical advisor can also be like a farmer who's previously had a farmer grant, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. That would be a great person, because they'd know exactly what getting into.
So Teresa, I'm linking in the chat here. Here's a search through the projects database of farmer rancher projects in New Hampshire since 2011. And you can see, if you click on any of those projects, you can see the project leader is in a little box on the right side, and you can click on their name and it brings up their email, their phone number, their website, and you can potentially reach out to contact them. So if you're looking at somebody who's, there's a folder, but I went back to 2011. So they may have changed some of those information if their project wrapped up a while ago, but it can be a good place to start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just clicked on one and I actually know the farmer. That's hilarious.
Awesome. Oh, great. Yay. Welcome, Carol.
Hello.
I'm Vander Gack, the communications person, and the one who will be tossing links into chat. And we're here with Candice Huber, who's the Farmer Grant Administrator.
Sorry, I'm late.
No problem. Carol, have you had grants with us before?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's how your name sounded familiar. We are just fielding questions as they come up. With 3 people here now, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get right to you.
Okay.
Carol, do you have anything specific you'd like to ask about?
No.
So what we've provided in the chat some links to the call for proposals, the project database, the guide for technical advisors, and some folks are just reading it over now and they're asking questions as they come up while they're reading through the materials. So if you want to look at any of the materials, we'll just wait for you folks to ask a question. Otherwise, we'll be here.
Carol, I've reviewed just checking out some of your previous work with us, and I am excited to we've since increased the total available funds from 15,000 to 30,000. And I was just wondering if you might be able to share a little bit of what your experience was like. I see you worked with grazing with brassicas and winter rye, and then you worked on a project on tracking, and those were very different things.
Yeah, we did tracking. We're not as active in the are doing more training stuff now. Doing more training. The tracking was quite exciting to do, but and it was fun. It was fun to do it and very exciting. But now I want to do more with education. And I'm just wondering, is that something that SARE is willing to support, educational outreach with kids? Is that an additional program is that something that fits the guidelines?
Well, so educational outreach, definitely. With kids, not so much. So our projects are all geared towards farmers, and your education would need to benefit and impact farmers in the Northeast region.
Okay, so it wouldn't be there's no allowance for teaching kids how to be farmers.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that pretty much answers.
Yeah, we do not have a youth program.
Okay.
I think the North Central region does, but not the Northeast.
But this is a really great point that you've raised with something about just the way that people are approaching our grants is, really farmer forward in your language and your approach. So, training kids to be farmers, that the kids are the subject of, they're the ones who are focused there. But training farmers to work with kids is focused on the farmers, and so it's putting farmers first in those equations.
But it's still working with people who are already farming, basically.
We want to be working.
The audience really has to be those that are already farming, or farmers like us when in the past when we did those tracking programs. Yeah.
I mean, it can be for new farmers. It can be for people who are interested in farmers. It can be for consumers, but the impact of it will. So like if you're doing some education for consumers, you'll be impacting farmers by increasing sales for farmers through doing that education, depending on what it is. And same thing for maybe teaching. So for instance, we have some programs that are teaching refugees to farm. Like we have some Somali refugees, or we have an
interesting,
Nepali community, and they're actually, it's teaching them how to grow food and sell food and increase, and make money from the food, and create more farming opportunities for those people, but also supplying the culturally relevant products for those communities. We also have an award to the American Deaf New Americans. So they are from
Oh,
Nepal and other
interesting, yeah.
countries, and they're deaf, and so they it's a training program for them, again, to be able to provide them with culturally relevant foods, and also to increase their production from farming
Mhm,
and their
mhm,
income.
mhm. Right. And so education with deliverables that people's income will increase, the farmer's income. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or their quality of life will increase, or
So how do you do a an evaluation of somebody's quality of life being different? Because
Well, that
that's
would
part
be-
of what SARE is. You have to show what you have to prove your results.
yeah, so that would be what we would refer to as social science, where you would do interviews,
A pre and a
surveys,
post,
focus
yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think that answers my questions. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind, I'm going to drop off. I have the materials,
Sure.
and I'm really excited that there's funding available, and that you guys, where are you located, Candice? And
I work out of our office is in Burlington, Vermont, and I'm
Vermont,
actually
of course.
located in south of there, so south of Middlebury in Vermont. Yeah.
And your co-worker is
Yeah.
named Northeast SARE.
I'm Vander, and
Vander, yeah.
I'm in like central Vermont.
You're Vermont. Of course, everything focuses in Vermont. That's where everything's from. That's cool. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, feel free to shoot me an email, Carol, or give me a
Okay.
call if you have any further questions.
Okay,
Okay.
I really appreciate it. That's great. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
As I'm reading this, I'm finding all my questions have been answered in this document.
Oh,
great.
good. That's great
Yeah.
to hear.
Even the ones you answered are in this document, so thank you.
Yeah.
Steve, can I question from Mia in the chat? Have we either? So I started with Northeast SARE about 2 years ago, even just a little under 2 years. And I moved here from the Midwest. So I had most of my grant experience prior to this had been for brick and mortar bookstores and for brick and mortar theater spaces, and some small like news grant writing.
Yeah, and I've been with Northeast SARE since for over, 16 years now. And I started in the office and worked in the graduate student program, worked with contracting, worked with research and education grants. And now I'm managing the farmer and the partnership grant programs. so I've been around for quite a while. I've never worked on a grant as in a research, farmer role or researcher role. I've just been on the administration end here. So I have not, my background is in forestry. I studied forestry at the University of Vermont, but I have not been on a SARE grant before. But I'm very, involved, you could say, involved in that way, administratively.
And that's a big part for you too, Candice. When you receive a SARE grant, part of that process we know is that you're going to have to, react to things that affect agriculture that are beyond human control. So we work with you throughout, really, to make sure that throughout the project to adapt to any changes that have to happen. So I feel like in that way, Candice, you spend a lot of time working through these. Yeah, we're with you there.
Yes. Yes, we are. We don't like just, you're not completely alone in it. We do ask, for challenges that you work with your technical advisor as you go through the project, but certainly as the administrator, I can work with you on like, if you need more time, if you're just struggling and you can't, you're having issues with because we've had a drought or because we've had too much rain. And so, you need to, I can't help you technically as far as like how to deal with your topic, because I'm not, I know about forestry, I know about plants, but I'm not a research scientist. But I can certainly help you with making accommodations so that you can have the time you need to tackle whatever the issue is, and help you, sound out some options if you need it. For management of the grant after it's awarded, you are responsible to provide annual reports, and then a final report. A final report is due 60 days after your contract end date. But the annual progress reports are simply just for us to see that you're working on your project, things are going along. It's just a way for us to connect with you to make sure you're on track, more or less. We're not asking for, you don't need to follow your timeline right to the T at all. But if we see, if we don't hear from you, we may feel like, oh, I'll reach out to touch base with you, because maybe there's a problem. And sometimes people, things just get away from them. And if you do need more time, we need to arrange that before the whole thing and, before the contract ends, so that we can give you that time. But a lot of people really like the timeline of the project, because it helps them stay on track. The person last week, when we had this drop-in session, we had a farmer on that was saying that he appreciates having a timeline and a time frame, because he knows what he needs to do and when he needs to do it. And when everything else is going sideways, he's got this timeline to go on. And sometimes it can help bring everything else back into where it needs to be, by just having that little grounding piece. So, but certainly, the progress reports are just there for us to just, touch base and make sure things are moving along. And then, so they don't have to be a big deal, but every January we require those while your project is active.
Okay. So if I currently don't have employees, but I feel that I'm going to need to hire somebody, they could be a consultant or like a 1099 and get paid under this grant?
Yes, it would be what we would consider like a service or a consultant.
Okay.
Yes, and you could pay them to do whatever you needed to do them to do, whichever
Yeah.
particular portion. We
Okay.
just, and the proposal, you would just need to describe their qualifications and what they're exactly going to be doing.
Okay.
And by exactly, I don't mean like you need to lay out perfectly what they're going to be. You could be like, they're going to help with the statistical analysis, or they're going to be providing outreach, or they're going to be, doing the weeding,
Mhm.
and maybe, some production management. So yeah, it doesn't have to be too specific, but
But the overall, what they're doing. Okay.
yeah, USDA, the budget can be kind of finicky, as far as we need to know what your expenses are, and down to the, you say, even like, say you need sample collection supplies like plastic bags and trowels and stuff. We need to know how many you want and how much they are per item, or per piece, and then the total amount, the number of them, and the total amount. So when you do ask for those specifics, that's just because USDA wants to see how you came up with that number. Now, by the time you buy it, maybe it's gone up 50% in price. So we'll have to, you'll have still the same total amount. But if we need to move numbers around a little bit within the budget to cover things, we can. It's not like you have to follow it to a T. There is some flexibility in there. The total award amount can't change, but we can, you can have a little flexibility with all that, because we don't expect prices to stay the same. But USDA does want to see, again, how you've arrived at those prices, and that you're not just pulling them out of the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be a little tedious, but again, by doing that, it's a great exercise to start thinking about all the, when you start thinking about all the little things you're going to need, and they add up, and we want to make sure that you are going to have your expenses covered, and that you're not going to find yourself in a situation where like, oh, I didn't think about that, and then you, in order to be able to do the project, you might have to pay for something yourself, or find another funding source.
Mhm.
So it's all to help you, really.
Yep. All right.
Mia, I see your question in the chat, and I'll start with answering this one. I love this. My favorite part about my job is working with farmers and researchers, and hearing about all the exciting things that they're thinking about, that they're doing. Even sometimes I'll have a chance to go visit some of our grantees, and even if their project is doing one thing, but just sometimes seeing their operations, and it's like, oh wow, they're doing like all these cool things outside of their project, and I just find all that really inspiring and fun, and I really enjoy seeing the potential, and seeing all the exciting things. People are so creative and so smart, and so they want to feed people, they want to produce food, and they want to take, they're all doing it because that's what they feel like is important, and it's just great. That's what I enjoy the most. How about you, Vander?
I really, I've worked with booksellers and makers, and now with farmers. And with me, I think one of the running themes through all of the work that I do is that it's just so great to spend time around people that are really passionate about what they're doing. And farmers are so passionate and so creative, but because there's this element of working with the land and being part of those larger systems, that seems to just create a through line of like reverence and respect for the wider world, that it's just amazing. It's a great energy to be around, and I'm inspired by them, in all sorts of ways. And I'm kind of a technology geek, so when somebody's, we had laser scarecrows that have been designed. We have people creating all sorts of new, mechanical systems, but then all sorts of new social systems and approaches and ways to measure the effectiveness of sustainability work. And it's all very exciting, and there's so many different ways that it's a new adventure every day. Thank you. Awesome question. I'm also like, what's your favorite part about your job? Like, how can we help figure out how to make that part of your grant application?
All right, thank you guys very much. I have learned a lot and feel a lot more secure in moving forward with this. So I'm gonna head off, but thank you, and you guys have a great day.
Excellent. Thank you, Teresa. You too. And as I said before, feel free to contact me if you have any other questions.
I will. Thanks.
Thanks.